Hi everyone, it's Amanda. Happy Valentine's Day. Today I'm going to be doing a romance recommendation video from the sweetest romances to the spiciest. For today's recommendations, I really wanted to have something for everybody, from people who don't love a lot of smut scenes to people who love the juice, just need more. I have something for everyone, and I even have some middle ground books. Be sure to like and subscribe down below for more bookish content. I'd love to have you here. Let's just get into the sweetest to the spiciest romance recommendations. So first up, we're going to start with the sweetest. So this one has no smut at all. It's very much fade to black, and this author actually usually does write fade to black scenes, very low on the spice, but I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I rated it 5 stars, and that's saying a lot because I tend to love a lot of smut, but I felt these characters' connection in this one, and that is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This one's the perfect book for right after the Super Bowl because we're following football player Nathan and his childhood friend Bree. So Bree has been in love with him forever, and he's also reciprocated the feelings, of course, but they have never admitted these feelings to each other, and so we have a fake dating book. What happens is our main character Bree, she ends up spilling the tea to a reporter one night when she's drunk. She ends up telling the reporter she has feelings for her best friend, and of course the press loves it. They think they're made for each other, so they have to start fake dating. And it is so much fun to read. It's cute, it's wholesome. It also has some really great mental health rep, including panic representation and men's mental health. I loved this book so much. If you want something sweet and wholesome that has a little bit of heavier topics but mostly just a lot of fun humor, you're gonna love this one. And it has the sports romance aspect as well. There's also a lot of mutual pining in this one, and we also have a main character who's a dancer, and there's a lot of talk on her as well. We don't just follow the sports romance, we also follow her and her ambition. Next up, we have another football romance. I know the Super Bowl got to me, but this one's a step up on the spice scale, but still really cute, wholesome, and funny. This one's called Homecoming King by Penny Reed. Don't let the holiday/wintry theme of the cover fool you. This is a great story for year round. And also, don't let the title fool you. It's definitely not in college or high school, so that's something to keep in mind as well. So this one follows Rex and Abigail. Abigail had a crush on Rex since she was in preschool, I believe. And he comes into her bar one night after many years. He's a pro football player now, and he gets super wasted at her bar, so she ends up having to take him home and take care of him. Super embarrassing. Oh my god, the secondhand embarrassment in this one. It's more of a friends to lovers, and it's very slow burn as well. Fake dating trope. The fake dating comes into play kind of like the Wall of Winnipeg and Me. I think that if you like Wall of Winnipeg and Me, you will love this one in comparison. It has the same vibes. Rex is a little bit less grumpy, but it still has very similar vibes. Basically, he's always been known to be the guy who the girl dates before she meets the one she's going to marry, and the press just loves to advertise that. And then on the flip side, Abigail has a horrible ex that she got burned by in a horrible way. There's a whole story with that. But she doesn't really want to date in the beginning of this book, but when he walks into her bar, she is a little bit flustered. There is so much tension in this book. You can feel their connection so well, but again, it's very slow burn, so that's why I put it on this list a step above The Cheat Sheet, because we do get some spicy scenes, but they're towards the middle/end of the book, and we don't get a whole ton of them. So I think this one's a really good choice. I really loved Rex as a character, and I liked how he protected Abigail, especially with her ex being such a douchebag. So definitely recommend this one if you want to step up from The Cheat Sheet. Maybe read The Cheat Sheet and you're like, okay, I want to graduate into Homecoming King. Yes, another fake dating football romance. It's a coincidence. I really didn't plan it. Next up, of course, I have a Mariana Zapata book, but this one's one of her steamiest in my opinion. It is Lingus. This one is so underhyped. I hear nobody talking about it, but it's one of my favorites. I think the characters are quirky in the best way. Mariana's characters are always kind of quirky, but sometimes I take it like a little bit cringy. I loved her books, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's just a little bit cringy. This one I really, really loved. I read it on audio last year around this time. It follows a girl who goes with her best friend to a porn convention and ends up being this guy in line. Turns out he's this notorious porn star, okay? Everyone's obsessed with him, but when they meet, she just thinks he's a regular guy. So they end up having this really, really great friendship. It's friends to lovers. They have a super believable connection. All of the trials they have to go through are believable. I loved the setup of this, and I thought I wouldn't like it that much because the premise was like, what? Just give it a chance. Give it like 100 pages. I think it might surprise you. The supporting characters are also a really good focus in this book. It doesn't just follow the main characters. The supporting characters are really, really good in this one as well. All right, next up, we're getting darker and spicier by the second. This one is one that I've talked about recently in my recent reads video, but I love this series so much. I'm obsessed with it. Find Me by Ashley Rostek. This is a glorious reverse harem suspense romance. It has a pretty good amount of steam, but it's definitely on the lighter side of most reverse harems, so that's why I put it next on the list. It is such a good story. So we follow our heroine, Shiloh. Her whole family was killed by her stalker, and now she's in the witness protection program because he is still out there and he's still trying to get her. So she moves to Arizona. She just goes off the grid. She buys a house there, changes her last name, everything like that, and she ends up next to this family of guys, 4 brothers that also lost their parents. She's very skeptical to become friends with them at first, but they really insert themselves in her life, particularly one of the twins. There's twins and then there's 2 older brothers. Anyway, it is so good, you guys. I loved it so much. It has the nightmare trope. The hurt comfort in this is a whole masterpiece. The story is really gripping. You want to finish it in one sitting, and the second one doesn't disappoint either. I will say they leave on cliffhangers, so beware of that if you wanted to wait for the third one to come out when it does. But I do think the second one ended okay. Well, it's still a cliffhanger, so if you hate that, I don't know. But I really, really love this series. I love the brothers. They all offer something different, like a reverse harem should. We have like the broody one and the sweet one, the really protective one over the family, and there's a lot of cute moments as well. And I just love the nightmare trope. If you didn't know, I look for that in everything, and this one did it the way that Credence did. One of the reasons I love Credence so much is because of the nightmare trope. I don't know what it is about it. Clearly I have some thinking to do, some dissecting of emotions. So this one definitely had it as a focus throughout the whole book instead of just like one scene, which I know sometimes authors add in one scene because I know people like it, but this one has it a lot. I just love her comfort so much, and if you do too, please read this book. Next up, we have another dark romance. This one definitely is dark. I recently did a dark romance recommendation video that I'll link up above and down below, but this one I just read for a reading vlog that's coming up soon on my channel, so super excited for that. I just have to read Hunting Adeline now to complete that video, but I loved the first book, guys. I'm so happy that I did. It was everything, and the spice was Zaid. He is a stalker. It is a stalker romance. It's very much on the dark side, very much on the dubious consent, non-consent, consensual non-consent side of things, so beware of that. But I loved it. The push and pull, the cat and mouse thing going on. I didn't know I was so into that. I really didn't know I was so into it. But the House of Mirrors scene, I read Satan's Affair before I read this book, and I definitely recommend doing so. Let me explain. Satan's Affair is a novella that takes place before or during Haunting Adeline. So you're recommended to start that one first, but it follows a character named Sibby who runs a haunted house called Satan's Affair. She kills bad people, and it was really good. It's even better now that I read Haunting Adeline. I didn't originally love the novella, but now that I know the whole story, I really love the novella, and I definitely think you should read it before going into it. And even if you don't love the novella, definitely try Haunting Adeline. It's very much a different story, and it will all make sense once you read Haunting Adeline. But yeah, the House of Mirrors scene was why I put this book on this list. I also just loved this book. I loved the subplot. We're following Adeline, who is living in her grandmother's mansion. Her grandmother recently passed away, and she's living in this Victorian, beautiful house, but Zaid starts stalking her, texting her from an anonymous number, all these things. He's watching her from the window. But while that's all going on, she's also kind of trying to investigate her great-grandmother's murder, because she finds out that her great-grandmother was murdered in the house and nobody ever found out who did it. It becomes so well integrated, and you start to really like Zaid. Even though he was creepy in the beginning, you start to love him, and he protects Adeline, and it's just, I know you've heard about this one, but I just want to reiterate that it definitely is worth the hype. Zaid is one of my favorite characters, one of the spiciest characters. Every smutty scene in this book was delicious. I just think you should read it if you haven't already. So there we go. And the last recommendation I have for you is a book that I simply can't get off my mind. Ever since I read it, I can't stop thinking about it and how spicy it was. I think it might be the spiciest book I've ever read. Like, I don't know. I don't know why it was so spicy to me. I don't know if it was the writing. I don't know what it was, but it is A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor. And I was very skeptical going into this book. It's a monster romance, so I was not ready. I was not prepared. I was very skeptical at first. I didn't love it in the first 100 pages. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm gonna give it a chance. And I loved it so much more than the aliens. I really truly did. By the way, I'm giving the aliens a second chance. Don't worry. I will be reading Barbarian Alien. But let me just say, this book was everything and more. The smut was so delicious. The vampire, Augustus, and Booker. And then the plot is also interesting, but there's like a lot of smut. This is why it's at the end of the video, because this one's like bang, 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 back to back to back to back. New monsters every day. Cannot get enough, and it's glorious. So I leave you with that. I won't spoil the plot too much because it's very minuscule. If you just wanted smut in general, maybe between two humans, still recommend it. Give it a chance. It may surprise you. With that, I hope you guys have a wonderful Valentine's Day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!